All right, welcome to Talk That Transforms. We are excited about today's program. I'm extremely excited because I am right in the tail end of another cycle of a 7-week with Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan with my coach, Coach JT, and I'm amazed that in just a 7-week period, 20 pounds has come off my body, and I cannot stress the emphasis on having a coach, having accountability, having someone that knows the way, can show you the way, and help you get there. So, Coach JT, thank you so much for being on the program today, the podcast. It is a blessing to have you here. I want to help some people. Good to have you.
Yeah, brother. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, no, it's interesting because you mentioned 7 weeks, right? And so oftentimes I have people that come from different programs, different disciplines of nutrition. And the idea is, I lost 20 pounds. I'll ask the question, how did you do on XYZ program? And they'll say, I did great. How much weight did you lose? Well, I lost like 20 pounds in 9 months. And I'm like, wow, 9 months, right? Like we have people in 6-7 weeks lose that amount of weight sustainably without being hungry. And when you go on Google and you Google results and you plug in any of the well-known fad diets, it'll say 20 pounds in 6 months. Now you've been on the program for 7 weeks and you're down 20 pounds.
Amazing.
And you haven't been hungry.
I haven't been hungry.
Right. Which is amazing.
I haven't been hungry. No, that's crazy because, actually when I saw the menu, when you first started, give me the information and how to eat correctly. I'm thinking, man, I'm going to be starving. I'm going to be like famished. How am I going to do this? And it's like just the combination of having the right nutrition, having the right supplements, drinking the right amount of water, eating at the right times is such a game changer. I mean, literally, there's sometimes I was looking at the meal going, gosh, I don't even know I can finish this meal, because you're satisfied. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've gained from the program is actually learning how to eat properly. And then realizing, a lot of the hunger pains that I was experiencing really was emotional hunger pains. It was really comforting, comfort food and trying to take care of myself. And actually my body's screaming out for stuff that I wasn't giving it, because as you've taught me and as I've read, your body's still going to signal it's hungry if you've not given it the proper nutrition. And so just the fact that when you start feeding your body correctly, your body realizes, hey, I don't need all this other stuff, So that's one of the key things that's been so brought us to turnaround for me. And speaking of which, you have a saying in the Empty Your Bucket nutrition family where you talk about, a diet plan versus a lifestyle plan, and I want you to talk about that a little bit because you touched on that, and I've been there, been up and down. I do the diet, you gain 20 pounds back. You do the diet, you lose 20, you gain 25 back. This has been a very different experience because this is not, you're not trying to people, hey, I'm just want you to lose weight for a couple of weeks, just for the photo shoot, just for the wedding, just for the high school reunion. We want to get you in shape for life. We want to get you fit for life. So can you talk about that a little bit, about, not just going into a lifestyle change just for a diet sake, but actually a lifestyle sake and a lifestyle change?
Yeah, for sure. So I believe what differentiates the difference between our program and the programs out there is that most programs are focused on dynamics, meaning eat this, don't eat that. And of course, that's needed. We give plenty of direction from that perspective. But one of the things we often miss is the idea that I truly believe that the 21st century man is never physically hungry, right? We have a surplus of calories available to us. We have fast food places, supermarkets. We have food. Food is very accessible, right? And so oftentimes when you hear people say, oh, I'm just starving, right? A lot of it is just because their cues, their hunger cues are not trained well because we're so used to peaking insulin. Every time you eat, you peak insulin, right? So what happens in that phase of reset is not just we're trying to aim for a metric, but we're also trying to reset your taste buds. We're trying to retrain your hunger cues so that you start to understand the difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger, which are two radically different things. So that's the first process, right? When you're able to reset your palate and the way your brain perceives reward, which oftentimes to the untrained palate is simply eating for emotions. When you reset that, what actually happens is that now you realize that when you go back to some of those foods, you don't want them anymore. you realize that when you eat what you used to eat before, you're stuffed and you don't feel good, right?
Absolutely.
So the natural process there is that if you don't want it and you don't like it anymore, you won't do it anymore, which is a game changer, because at that point, your coach doesn't have to say, do this or do that. And it becomes a lifestyle. And so I think the big challenge with most programs that are claiming lifestyle is that they're simply going after dynamics, and rules have never changed anyone's life, right? What changes a person's life is actually being able to live it out, and the conviction of saying, wow, I don't need to live this way anymore, right? That's the big reset process. The other process that takes place that most people don't realize is that when you start eating differently, your biochemistry changes. The way your brain, the way you think radically changes, right? So you start to think in different ways. You have more clarity and you make better decisions, because when you're clouded by all the surplus of calories that you have and your hunger cues not being trained, what actually happens is you don't have the clarity to to distinguish good from bad. Now, I know that sounds a little condescending, but what I'm trying to say here is that we when we are intoxicated with a surplus of calories, our brain, we don't think straight. We think like addicts, right? We think like addicts.
Right. And I want to say this, it's hard for people to hear this. It's I know sometimes people don't want to hear this because, this is food. This is not a drug. This is not marijuana. This is not alcohol. This is not cocaine. This is not pornography. But man, it's like when you look at, and I won't even pick on anybody else. I'll pick on me. When I think about what I was putting in my body, I look at the pictures of myself, bloated, inflammation in my hands, feeling weak in areas, tired, high blood pressure. It didn't dawn on me, oh, I'm just overweight. I just got extra weight on. No, it's not just extra weight. It's like you said, we're poisoning in our bodies. It's sometimes it's hard to hear these things, but one time you said, we're talking about getting your palate clean, just like you are today, getting your mouth clean, your taste buds changing. And I didn't realize how much I had trained my taste buds to actually want the things that really aren't even good for me. And, it gets to a point where you say to yourself, I've cleaned my palate so much, I've trained my body so much. And that's not to say we can't have a cheat day or whatever. But the point is, why would you re-poison yourself? And man, I'm telling you, that just was a punch in my guts. Why would you re-poison yourself after you've cleaned your palate? Why would you go back to the aches, the pains, the inflammation, after you've gotten yourself clean? And that's why I really appreciate what you're saying here. And I'm going to hush after this. Is just, we need coaching, we need accountability, we need lifestyle change, not just a quick diet. I did the diets, and I almost, I think I would have died if I would have kept doing these dang diets,
Right. Yeah. The book says that our people perish for lack of knowledge. And I think that is primarily what we're seeing here, is not that people don't have the intention to get healthy. Everyone wants to get healthy. Most people just don't know. And there is a plethora of advice and coaches and gurus out there that are perpetuating this message of macros and calories. And listen, those strategies can work. No one is saying that they can't work. My big hangup with those is that those are simply addressing rules. And once again, rules have never changed anyone's life.
Right.
And so what we really need is we need to change. We need to transform our thinking so that we can transform our emotions. Our emotions can transform our actions. And so that's the process. And that's what makes it so radically different. Here's an interesting fact. Counseling goes further with weight loss than nutritional coaching.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, that is a known fact. People that go to counseling for overeating, binge eating, right? Using food as a crutch, do better in counseling than they do in nutritional coaching. Why? Well, once again, rules have never changed anyone. So what the problem with most yo-yo dieters is that all they've done is follow rules, and they don't even know why they're following those rules. What they think is, I'm going after a metric. That's just the icing on the cake, no pun intended, right? So the idea here is that you got to change your biochemistry, because I know it sounds offensive to you to speak about food in terms of an addiction, but it is. And anything that alters, right? Anything that alters your mind is considered a drug, right? Food is a drug. It can be a good drug, right? The problem is we're overusing it. I recently had someone on my webinar who was asking me the question, JT, we're talking about food here. We're not talking about drugs though. I don't need to do drugs. I need to do food. I'm like, you need to do food, but you don't need to do the excess amount of foods that you're doing. Think of it this way. Not that I'm in any way, shape, or form promoting alcohol or drugs. If you have a beer, if you have a glass of wine, most likely that won't make you drunk, right? If even drugs, like people that do drugs and maybe do one or a little bit of drugs, they're not going to get high from it. I'm not subscribing to that. I'm not saying that that's what you should do. I'm simply making a point here that if you utilize things in moderation, they're not going to make you drunk. Food can also make you drunk. You can be drunk on food. And so the idea here really is, if you want to make this into a lifestyle, you have to go beyond the rules and you have to understand what you're actually up against. Right. I coach from a Christian perspective. And so I always say that it's those little lies, those little lies, right? Or those lies that have a little bit of truth, that are the ones that make, get us in the most trouble. And so when you think about food and drugs, people are like, well, this is not drugs. This is not alcohol. This is just food. That's a big lie, right? That's a big lie. And once again, the idea here is that you should have freedom around food. You should have freedom around food, and you can get there, but it doesn't happen from one day to the next. You don't just get up from, the TV one day covered in Dorito dust and say, I'm just going to have freedom around food, and I'm just going to tame my hunger. It doesn't work that way. You have to go through a process. You have to go through a guided process. I have people that call me all the time that say, hey man, I'm super emotional. I feel like I just broke up with my spouse. Is this normal? My emotions are all over the place. I'm moody. I'm having these fits of anger. I'm having rage. Is this normal? And notice that is the same exact response that an addict has when they're having withdrawal symptoms.
I was gonna say, you're going through withdrawal. Absolutely going through withdrawals, right?
Right. Right. And so it's interesting because they'll say, I just, and then people start to find reasons. I'm not sure if I'm getting enough food. Am I okay? Is that why when I eat again, I feel great. Guess what? When the addict goes back to the drug, they feel good again.
That's right.
It's the same exact thing, right? And so we got to recognize it and call it what it is. And when we do, then we can do something about it. And then when we incorporate those rules, those guidelines, they work. Because I'm not saying that the guidelines, what I've been calling rules here the whole time, don't work. I'm just simply saying that you can't put the cart before the horse. You have to actually establish the right kind of mindset, create a foundation. So when those rules come in, you can follow them.
I think that's why the program you offer, the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan, is so valuable, because it is a guided process, and we need someone to guide us. And that's the thing. We need the information. And I think, with the accountability and the information and just, a little bit of motivation and just simply staying on task and just following this plan, it's really not impossible. It is scientific what we're talking about here and what you're talking about here in terms of how it works, but it's science, but it doesn't take a scientist to actually follow this plan. You don't have to understand the ins and outs. And that's what was so beautiful about this, is just do this, eat this, walk like this, drink this, and, you're going to see results. And, the thing that's great about this too is, 90 days. I mean, that's where I think folks, when they hear 6 months, they hear a year. It's like, wow, that sounds so far out there. But when you think about a month and you see, 7 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds in a month, and you get into, the second month, the third month, and you're down 20, 30, 40 pounds, whatever is, different for everybody, to see something like that happen. I think to myself all the time now, what if I had not started the program? What if I had not taken that first step? What if I'd not gone that 90 days? And it's just like 90 days goes by as like this, and then all of a sudden you reap the benefits. And so
totally. I'm reaching over here because you said something that's really funny, and I never thought of it like that, but someone who actually did the forward for my book. Okay. And it says here, this is Bob Burns. He's a pastor at Bayshore Church. He says, finally, a program that does not require you to be a scientist, nutritionist, or personal trainer or executive coach in order to see results. Right. And so, the idea there, right, is simplicity. I believe simplicity is efficiency. And we have taken out all of the complexity out of it, right? When you really look at what we do in Reset, Reboot, and Excel, it's pretty simple, and it's meant to be that way. The true blessing inside of the program is the ability to see something that is not complex, that you can do on your own, that you have someone guiding you, not just showing you what to do, not just holding you by the hand and saying, this is what you have to do, but actually teaching you these principles so that you can do it on your own. I have business coaches that come on my program all the time, and they'll ask me, what's your reoccurring, model? And I'm like, I don't have a reoccurring model. People come to us and we fix them. and the tagline is, the idea behind this is that we're going to teach you the principles and you'll never need me again. It's a horrible business. I always say it's a horrible business plan for me because you'll never need me again. And I'm totally okay with that. That's the idea, to give people independence.
But I love this though, because the thing is, even though I'm in the coaching, space as well. And I do understand what they push, they want you to have additional offers and keep people going. But see, the thing is, your results, like for myself personally, that is the billboard. I think you're always going to have someone coming to you. And I think you're always going to have new people because you keep getting results. And I think that's the difference. Who cares if I did a diet and didn't get any results? I'm not going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. I've had so many people ask me, from every walk of life, from every background, they'll see me. What did you do? How did you do it? How did you lose all that weight? What did you, it's just like constantly, because it's been so dramatic for me, so drastic for me, at 20 pounds, you don't realize what 25, 30, 40 pounds will do to just your look, how you feel. And so the people that know me for a long time, their number one question is, how did you do it? Are you working out? All these different things. And, my plan now has completely changed. If I want to drop pounds, I don't go to the gym and pound it harder. I actually get on the pavement, start walking, I work out less, I eat and it just happens. And I have started picking the weights back up, but I'm still following the plan, and I'm not allowing myself to deviate from it because it's efficient. And that's the cool thing about this, even if you deviate, once you get in the lifestyle of this, the same way your body used to, go back to the negative, man, it's amazing when you start training the right way, how quickly you can get right back into the good, and get back into the positive. So again, if you took on a person right now that was, 40 to 50 pounds overweight, what would be the first thing you'd ask them to do? What's the first thing you'd ask them to do?
Yeah. The very first thing, I think if I could just simply tell that person, come on our program, that would be great. But here's how I always look at it, right? If I had 30 seconds in an elevator with a person who is 50 pounds overweight, and maybe I'm never going to see this person again, they're never going to come on my program. Number one, I would say reach out to me because that's the best way to do it. And if you truly want to get sustainable results, that's the way to go. But the quickest thing you can tell someone is, number one, you want to make sure that you are, that you're walking, right? Like the primary thing, you want to make sure you're walking 45 to 60 minutes at a pace where you can hold a conversation, right? Number two, right? You need to really get away from those addictive substances that you're eating right now, right? So all the things that, all the dairy, all the starchy carbohydrates that spike a lot of insulin, you want to make sure that you're eating lean proteins. You want to make sure you're bringing in the right kind of fats. You want to make sure, and so I would go through something in 30 seconds of that nature. Lastly, I would say, make sure that you have a third party unbiased accountability partner. That is someone who you know, but you respect enough to make sure that you're showing up to the appointments, that you're actually checking in, and that you're actually accountable to that person. Because a lot of times people want to use their spouse, and that's okay. That works, but you're not a prophet in your own land. So keeping your spouse accountable is a tricky thing. So you want someone who knows you, that you respect, and you reach out to that person and say, hey, would you hold me accountable? And here's how much I'm willing to pay you to do that. Because if you don't pay attention.
No, it's true. And I need to say this. There's probably a lot of people watching that say, I don't have anybody that's going to hold me accountable to the degree or level that I need to be held in order to get results. And I certainly don't have a person that has the information or the science behind nutrition to help me get the results I want. Well, there's no excuse, because we have someone right here on the podcast, JT. He's my coach. This is not someone that I have not experienced the plan. I've actually experienced the plan twice now and seen tremendous results twice now. Down 20 pounds again. and feeling incredible. And I attribute it to this program, the accountability, the nutrition aspects, the check-ins, the weigh-ins, weekly documenting what's going on in my life. And it has gone from a diet plan, and it's literally transitioned for me into a lifestyle plan, a lifestyle shift. And so if you want to see dramatic results, if you want to get your health in place, because health is wealth, the Bible says that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We are supposed to steward these bodies with excellence to the best of our ability, with the knowledge that God's given us. If you want to take your health, no matter what age you are, no matter what stage you are, you can be, incredibly overweight, or you might even need to put on some weight. I can tell you right now, the Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan will be a source of strength and value, and you'll see results in 90 days. If you'd like to check out the Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan, you can go to my website at robmallan.com/90-day transformation, and you'll find the link where you can attach and hook up with my coach directly. And if you follow the plan, you'll see the same results. I want to thank Coach JT for being on this podcast. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next one. God bless.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.